One of the hottest rumors whirling around pro wrestling these days is that Vince McMahon is back running WWE creative, stemming from a Fightful report from a few weeks ago that claimed a mustached Vince was spotted backstage at Raw. Many in the internet wrestling community believe the sky is falling on the WWE, and Vince is in fact back in charge. So on today's Wrestle Juice, we're going to look at 5 reasons to believe Vince McMahon is back running WWE creative. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Wrestle Juice. That's right. A lot of people on the internet are saying that Vince is back running WWE creative, and I figure there's only sort of one way to determine whether or not that's true, and that's to look at the WWE product and see if we can find any evidence that Vince McMahon is, in fact, back. At least most of these have to do with watching the actual show. Let's dive into it. Number 5, Johnny Gargano is back in NXT. So lately, Grayson Waller has been involved in a story with the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, a.k.a. the head of everything there in NXT. And they brought Gargano from main roster, plunked him down on NXT for a big stand and deliver face-off, a match between these two to help Grayson Waller, I guess, become a potential face of NXT. Of course, Grayson Waller is the guy who laid out Johnny Gargano on his way out of the company 15 months ago. And so this actually kind of makes sense from a storyline perspective. It gives Gargano something to do at WrestleMania weekend because he's not going to be on the WrestleMania card. Here's the thing about that. There's a caveat, is that a lot of people are not going to be on the WrestleMania card because this year they seem to be keeping the actual WrestleMania matches to not a whole lot of them. It seems like there's going to be, generally speaking, over the course of the 2 nights, probably around, 12 to 16 matches, which might seem like a lot, but a lot of those are singles matches for titles, and a guy like Johnny Gargano, who's had a hard time cracking like the upper mid card, it's not in the cards for him. A lot of big names are not going to be at WrestleMania this year, or names that you figure might be on the show, but I kind of feel like this is just a way to stick Gargano on something WrestleMania weekend. It's kind of a high profile deal. NXT stand and deliver. Grayson Waller is one of their bigger names, and this is going to help Grayson Waller, in theory, quite a bit heading into what could potentially be a main roster call-up after WrestleMania. So, is this evidence that Vince is back? I don't know. Maybe Vince didn't really seem to care much about Johnny Gargano when it seemed like Johnny Gargano left WWE because he was unsure as to what Vince McMahon was going to do with him once he got to main roster from NXT. Instead, he decided to leave for like 9 months and came back after Triple H was in charge, and he was used. He wasn't shot up to the top of the card or anything, but Johnny Gargano has been used quite a bit on main roster since Triple H has come back and he's been in charge. Let's go on to the next one. Here's number 4. Bray Wyatt went home. Now, there's been some conflicting reports on this. One of the Wrestling Observer contributors had said that Bray Wyatt left due to creative issues. Then Dave Meltzer himself had said it had to do with a physical injury of some sort. Sean Ross Sapp said the same thing. But given that Bray Wyatt was involved in that Mountain Dew match, which was under Triple H's purview, that happened before Vince McMahon came back, I kind of feel like the physical injury aspect is probably more close to being accurate, but I guess we'll find out over the coming weeks, certainly months, because WrestleMania is only a couple weeks away, as to whether or not he's going to be back. I'm sure we'll get a fuller picture of that story going forward, but the fact that he ended up going home right as Vince McMahon was spotted at Raw, the timing right there, coincidental, maybe not. Who knows? I don't know if anybody knows the full story. As we know, Bray Wyatt was released from the WWE back when Vince was running things, and there was all sorts of reports that backstage there was tons of friction between the two of them. So it's entirely possible if Vince was like, hey, Bray Wyatt stuff doesn't work for me. So yeah, he's got to go home. And then, I don't know, maybe some arrangement was made. Again, that's sort of conspiracy theory stuff. A lot of this stuff is going to be kind of conspiracy theory stuff because I kind of don't believe Vince is back in charge. Anyways, let's go into the next one. Number 3, the women's division booking has been kind of meh. The Asuka Bianca Belair story hasn't really been great. I get the feeling that because they're both really popular, they don't want the crowd to boo somebody, and so they've inserted Chelsea Green and Carmella into that story. And so I kind of feel like this is what I think is going on with Bianca Belair and Asuka. I think Bianca Belair is going to win that match at WrestleMania because she's just on a WrestleMania tear. I think they're building her a WrestleMania streak, and Asuka's going to be the latest victim of that. And I feel like, so as to not sort of show their hand and not have the crowd turn on Bianca Belair in advance of that WrestleMania match, which they might if she beats Asuka, they inserted a couple of bad guys into this. It's kind of a lukewarm build going into WrestleMania. The same can be said with Charlotte and Rhea Ripley. It's just sort of been a lukewarm build. Not a lot of cool stuff's been going on. There's been some promo stuff. Really, the standout performance in this whole feud has been from Dominic Mysterio with his promo against Charlotte Flair. It's just not the meatiest sort of feud they've got going. Of course, you got Bayley and Damage Control versus Becky Lynch and Lita and Trish Stratus. And that feud has sort of been, again, I mean, there's been some cool stuff. I mean, having Lita come back and win the tag titles was a big, big moment and everything. But like, it seems like there's a bit of a spark missing there. That being said, it's not like Triple H was doing a stellar job before these reports of Vince coming back were a thing. Going back to SummerSlam, he brought it back. A lot of the people from the women's division that Vince McMahon had either let go of or was, keeping an NXT for whatever reason. And he hasn't really done like a great job involving them in some really, really good stories or anything. And apparently Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné, and Naomi weren't that impressed with Triple H's presence and Vince McMahon being gone to bring them back to the company, although maybe they just wanted to do their own thing much more than they cared about whatever the creative was in WWE. But I don't know. It's like the creative for the women's division hasn't been great for a while now, and I think that sort of predates the Vince McMahon stuff. You see how I'm bringing up all these things and then I'm contradicting them. Let's move on to the next one. There's been no word on NXT Europe yet. I know Shawn Michaels just recently said that they're building it up to make sure that it's like the best thing that it could possibly be. But the shuttering of NXT UK, which seemed to be a Vince afterthought in the first place, and with no real word or development on NXT Europe, which was supposed to get its start towards the beginning of this year, and now we're 3 months, almost 4 months deep into the year. This could be signs that Vince is like, no, we're not doing that. That global localization thing that you wanted to do, Triple H, we're not doing that. Here's another caveat to that. That could just be simply because Vince McMahon's coming in to prep the company for a sale. And usually when you're trying to sell your company, you do whatever you can. You sort of shed a bunch of assets and you sort of make things as lean as possible. I know there's been some rumors about potential releases, which might be another indication that Vince McMahon is back running things. If he lays off a bunch of the people, if he releases a bunch of the people that were just there, that Triple H had brought back, I think that would be a huge sign that Vince McMahon is back. If all of a sudden Bronson Reed, Killer Cross, Tegan Knox, if all those people that Triple H brought back, if they all of a sudden get released, I think there's a good chance that Vince is probably texting Triple H, hey, do this because I'm telling you to do this. All right, let's go to the one that everybody points to. The one conclusive thing everybody points to that confirms without a shadow of a doubt that Vince McMahon is back running creative. And that is OMOS versus Lesnar at WrestleMania. Now, I know a lot of people were like really, really concerned when this match was sort of announced or it was brought up on Raw that, oh, what is this? What is this crap? Brock Lesnar, you're wasting him on OMOS, a guy who hasn't done anything. He just lost to Brock Lesnar. This is Vince McMahon at his worst right here. And I kind of feel like this one, there might be some credence to that simply because Brock Lesnar, as we know, has a relationship with Vince McMahon. It would not shock me if Brock Lesnar was offered up several options, one of which was Bray Wyatt, and evidently he turned it down. Another one might have been OMOS, and that might have come from Vince McMahon, and Brock Lesnar was like, yeah, I'll take that. Vince McMahon always likes those big attraction matches like Lesnar versus OMOS. Lesnar likes working with these big dudes who can make him look small, and so it makes it look even cooler when he has the F5. This isn't terrible, though. I'm kind of into the idea of Lesnar versus OMOS. I want to see the big man get hit with the F5. I think that's going to look kind of cool. So, yeah, it wouldn't shock me if Vince McMahon had some hand in this match. That being said, Triple H has said in the past at one of those press conferences. Yeah, I consult with Vince McMahon. I consult with a lot of people. It's his company. He runs the company. So yeah, I consult with him. But beyond that, I think there's like a lot of reasons why Vince McMahon, a lot of reasons that point to the idea that he's not running creative. And we're going to go over those in the next video. So be sure to check that out. Once it goes live, I'll post the link right here so you can check it out. Thanks for watching, everybody. I appreciate it. Give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button if you like the video. If not, feel free not to. But also leave me some comments below. Give me some evidence. Why do you think Vince might be back running creative? And I'll take a look at those. Maybe I'll comment on them in one of the videos coming up. Anyways, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Check out this over here.